A bottle of pills spills across the floor. A Santa Monica apartment sits in silence. In 1996, Margaux Hemingway, an icon of the 70s, was found motionless. Her radiant smile that once captivated the world now extinguished. She was the first supermodel to sign $1 million contract. Her face gracing Vogue covers, the lights of Studio 54 crowning her. But behind that smile, Margaux hid a broken heart, family abuse, a glass of wine at 14, and the Hemingway name like a shadow that wouldn't let go. She dazzled before cameras, but her eyes were lost, pleading for help no one heard. Suicide, accident, or a darker secret. Margaux was a star, but also a girl imprisoned by pain. Hollywood celebrated her, then turned away when she fell. What snuffed out her light? This story isn't just a tragedy, it's a mirror reflecting invisible wounds. Stay with me to uncover the truth behind Margaux Hemingway. Chapter 1. A girl with blue eyes steps into fame. Darkness crept beneath the glittering lights of Studio 54. At a year-end party, amid music and laughter, Margaux Hemingway sat quietly in a corner, her wine glass trembling in her hand. "The Hemingway name is a curse," she whispered to a stranger, her eyes adrift. As a close friend later recounted, "Let's go back to the start. A blonde girl, 6 feet tall, born to shine but also to be consumed. Margaux Hemingway, born in 1954 in Portland, Oregon, grew up on a Ketchum, Idaho farm, carrying the blood of literary giant Ernest Hemingway. She didn't want to be defined by her grandfather. "I'm not him," she once said firmly to a friend at a bar. She wanted to rise on her own, and she did. In 1975, at 21, Margaux signed $1 million contract with Fabergé, the first supermodel to reach that milestone. Her face glowed on Time. Elle, Cosmopolitan. They called her the face of the 70s. Night after night, she dazzled under Studio 54's lights, laughing with Andy Warhol, Liza Minnelli, a lavish life, endless parties, like a dream. Margaux was dubbed an era's icon, lights, applause, galas. Then one day, she vanished from her schedule. No one found her for 48 hours. When she returned, she was silent, her eyes empty. But that dream had cracks. Margaux hated the Hemingway name. She struggled with dyslexia, feeling out of place in her intellectual family. As a medical article noted, her parents, Jack and Puck, lost in wine and parties, neglected their 3 daughters. Once, at 13, Margaux disappeared from the farm for 2 days. When she returned, she stopped speaking to her father. A neighbor recalled. What secret lay behind it, no one dared ask. She was the face of the 70s. But each night, wiping off her makeup, Margaux stared into a cracked bathroom mirror. "Do I even exist?" she asked a lover, her voice trembling. The public saw a perfect smile, but her heart was heavy. A friend said, in a drunken moment at a party, Margaux whispered of a family secret she couldn't share. What was it? It haunted her, even as flashbulbs flared. The Hemingway family was no stranger to tragedy. Records note at least 7 took their lives: her grandfather Ernest, his father Clarence, siblings Ursula, Leicester. The Hemingway curse, people called it. Did Margaux sense it? She walked catwalks, but each step seemed to draw her closer to a fated end. Her glamour shone, but the past's shadows wouldn't let go. What was Margaux, with her smile hiding pain? Carrying, would that light be enough to shield her from the deep abyss? Chapter 2. Deep wounds from those closest to her. In Ketchum, they said the Hemingway farm was a dream, but for Margaux, it was where dreams died daily. Polished wooden walls hid silent screams. Her father, Jack Hemingway, and mother, Puck, drowned in alcohol, their eyes lost in endless parties. They stayed together for the kids, a friend recalled in 1972. But Margaux and her sisters grew up like ghosts in their own home. One sister whispered to Walls Muffet, schizophrenic, living in her own world, as records suggest. Another drifted away, Marielle, distant, not understanding her sister. Margaux was trapped with screams no one heard. She felt dirty, unworthy, as if her body wasn't hers. Then horror struck. As a teenager, Margaux was sexually abused by her father and godfather. Her sister Marielle later revealed in a documentary. Those wounds cut like blades into her soul. Someone said they saw Margaux crumpled in a hotel bathtub, clutching a torn photo of her father and godfather. But she never spoke of it, only wiping tears and moving on. At 14, Margaux turned to alcohol. She skipped school, sneaked into bars, drank to forget. Wine eased the pain, but only briefly. "My family is a prison," she cried at a Studio 54 party, her voice choking. A friend recalled, but she kept it hidden, her Vogue smile radiant. She had to be perfect, conceal the truth, because the public didn't want a broken star. Margaux didn't escape her family. She fled into the spotlight. But the lights didn't erase the darkness. The public saw a glamorous supermodel, but Margaux felt like a girl caged by her past. "I don't belong here," she told a friend, eyes red after a drink. The Hemingway name's weight crushed her. She had to be a pride. But how? With a heart full of scratches. Rumors spread. Some at Studio 54 whispered Margaux drank not for fun, but to forget. Forget what family secrets, abuse, or the curse people spoke of. With 7 relatives choosing death, Margaux didn't say. She just raised her glass, forced a smile, and kept running. Do you see it? That smile wasn't real. Behind those blue eyes was a girl begging for rescue. Family trauma was her first wound, and it never stopped bleeding. Could Margaux outrun her past, or would it drag her to the abyss? Chapter 3. Painsyncing in a Career's Decline. Margaux played a rape victim on screen, but who knew Hollywood was stripping away her dignity in 1976 on the set of Lipstick? 22-year-old Margaux poured her heart into Chris McCormick. She wanted to prove she was more than a pretty face. But when the film released, critics tore her apart. Stiff, they wrote, per a review from the Time. Worse, they praised her 14-year-old sister Marielle, who played her sibling in the film. Marielle, with natural talent, later earned an Oscar nomination. Margaux went silent. She never spoke of Lipstick again. Someone saw Margaux burn a letter meant for Marielle never sent. A Studio 54 friend recalled. No one knew its contents, but from then, a chasm grew between the sisters. Margaux, with her sensitive heart, felt her light stolen by Marielle. "I brought her to Hollywood. But who am I now?" she whispered before a mirror, as her psyche suggests. Then tragedy struck. In 1984, Margaux had a skiing accident in Austria. Broken bones, severe injuries. She spent months in hospital. A film crew member recalled, when she recovered, she'd gained 75 pounds, weighing nearly 200 pounds, for a supermodel. It was catastrophic. Fabergé canceled her contract, magazines mocked her. The 1980s fashion industry, with its harsh beauty standards, didn't forgive, per a fashion article. Margaux looked in the mirror, unrecognizing herself. "Who am I?" she asked, her voice trembling. She drank until her hands shook, vomited in bathrooms, then smiled for cameras. Once, she passed out on a couch, face in an unfinished drink, a friend said. Alcohol, drugs, violent vomiting, and epileptic seizures tormented her. Hollywood whispered, "She's cursed, like her grandfather." Per party gossip. Margaux heard those words, and they cut her heart like knives. She'd been an icon, now ridiculed. The public didn't see her pain. They saw a failed star. Margaux, heartbroken, slid down a dangerous slope. The Hemingway name's pressure, the world's eyes, and her own silence were strangling her. Was it that silence from family, fans, herself that pushed Margaux to the edge? Chapter 4. Broken love pulling Margaux into darkness. In 1975, in a lavish Manhattan apartment, Margaux entered her first marriage, but no one knew that day. She also lost her last shred of freedom. At 19, Margaux loved Errol Wettinson, a wealthy restaurateur much older. He adored her, but not as Margaux. He wanted a perfect statue. Errol dictated her clothes, her diet, even criticized her body as not beautiful enough, a close friend recalled. Margaux, insecure from childhood wounds. Believed she had to change to be loved. "I'm not worthy of love," she whispered after a drink. A friend said, "Marriage was a cage." When it ended in 1978, Margaux blamed herself. If she were prettier, better behaved, maybe Errol would have stayed. "If I die, burn everything," she told a friend, her voice shaking, as if foreseeing tragedy. She tried again with Bernard Fauché, a Venezuelan director, in 1979. Paris was beautiful. Bernard loved her, but at night, as he slept. Margaux slipped to the balcony, drinking alone, eyes fixed on nowhere. She wanted to believe in love, but alcoholism wouldn't let go. Bernard couldn't cope. They divorced in 1985. Again. Margaux blamed herself. "I ruined everything," she whispered in a dark apartment, moonlight on her regretful face, a relative recalled. She isolated herself. Friends faded. Only her mother, Puck, reconciled with her before dying of cancer in 1988, per a family member. But maternal love couldn't fill the void. Margaux lived alone, curtains drawn, shutting out the world. Whispers said Margaux kept a diary about cursed love after her death. It vanished. Who took it, or did Margaux destroy it? As she destroyed herself once, she said, "If I die, burn everything." Those words now seem prophetic. The public saw a supermodel, but Margaux saw a failure. Self-blame caged her, pushing others away. Love, what she craved, brought only pain. Was love the thing she wanted most, the chain binding her to the end? Chapter 5. Fragile Happiness, the Final Effort. Margaux stepped out, hair disheveled, body thin, but her eyes held something strange, a small spark in a storm. In 1987, she left the Betty Ford Center, her hands no longer trembling from alcohol. "I'll come back," she told a friend, her voice hopeful, her smile faint but sincere. She sought therapy in Idaho in 1994, battling depression, violent vomiting, and memories of drunken nights. A glimmer appeared. She was offered a hosting role on Wild Guide for the Discovery Channel. "This is my chance," she whispered, clutching the script like a lifeline. But reality was cruel. Back in her small Santa Monica apartment, she waited for producers' calls. Hollywood stayed silent. Months passed, only bills and debt notices arriving, with $815,000 looming like a blade. A housekeeper said, "Sometimes I thought she was talking to someone, but the room was empty." Margaux sat alone, staring at the ocean, a bottle reappearing on her table. "I tried. But is it enough?" she asked, her voice fading in the sea breeze. The 1980s didn't forgive. Women, especially a Hemingway, had to be perfect, slim, beautiful, successful. But Margaux, with her scarred soul, felt like a disappointment. Some nights, she dreamed of her grandfather Ernest standing silently in a corner, watching her with sad, judging eyes. Was the Hemingway curse 7 relative suicides, as people counted, real, or just a fear caging her? A friend said Margaux sat for hours by her window, murmuring, "I don't want to be like him." She tried smiling under California's sun, but the darkness inside didn't fade. Friends called, knocked, worried. "I'm fine," she said, her voice trembling, eyes avoiding theirs. Once, she left a message for an old friend. "If I disappear, don't look for me." Short, it was like a warning. Happiness, for Margaux, was fragile as a soap bubble, ready to burst. The public didn't see her fight. They remembered the Vogue Margaux, the blonde who enchanted the world. But in that dark apartment, Margaux was losing. Once an icon, she was now her own shadow, shunned by society, haunted by her past. Fame's pressure, debts, and dreams of her grandfather were like ropes tightening. What extinguished that final spark in her eyes? Chapter 6. Final Despair, a Mysterious Death. The room reeked of silence, a white nightgown, a spilled bottle of pills, as if a hand had just pulled away. In June 1996, in Santa Monica, 42-year-old Margaux lay still on her bed, hands neatly folded like she was sleeping. Her friend Judy Stable, worried after days of unanswered calls, climbed a ladder to peer through a window. She screamed, seeing Margaux lifeless, her eyes recounting a shattered moment. On July 1st, 1996, police confirmed Margaux died from a phenobarbital overdose, ruled a suicide. The coroner's report suggested she passed 2 days earlier, on the anniversary of Ernest Hemingway's 1961 death. Coincidence? Or did she choose that moment? An open drawer was empty. Rumors said Margaux kept a diary about the Hemingway curse, detailing family and death obsessions, but it was never found. Who took it, or did Margaux burn it? As she'd said, "If I die, burn everything." Her father, Jack, and stepmother Angela received the news coldly, as if they'd expected it. A family acquaintance said her sister Marielle denied suicide, insisting, "My sister wouldn't do that." But the truth didn't change. Margaux lived alone, buried in debt, friendless. Neighbors said she rarely went out, a ghost in her apartment. Someone heard her whisper, voice lost, "If I go, it'll be like my grandfather." Hollywood whispered, was it a deliberate accident from debt or the curse? With 7 relative suicides, the coincidence with Ernest's death was chilling, like a pre-written final note. A friend said weeks earlier, Margaux stood by her window, staring at the sea, saying, "Was I born to end like this?" Margaux's death was the climax of trauma, addiction, and pressure. The public saw a star fade, but not the heart broken long before. Hollywood applauded her at her peak, then turned away when she needed saving. Fashion, family, and Margaux herself all stayed silent when she needed a hand. Did Hollywood, society, and the curse push her to the edge? Epilogue, a legacy and lessons. Margaux Hemingway left like an unanswered question, leaving a void no spotlight could fill. She was the 70s radiant light, her Vogue smile, $1 million contract, Studio 54 nights, all a dream. But that dream was choked by family abuse, addiction, and the Hemingway name. In 1996, she left in a dark apartment with a mystery suicide. Or did the curse call her? Her Vogue smile, from 1975 to her final day, never found a home. Margaux was a victim of a broken family, where abuse and neglect sowed tragedy. Society judged her from fashion demanding perfection to media mocking her weight gain. Her first husband, Errol Wettinson, controlled her body. Hollywood compared her to Marielle. Her family, cold at her death, seemed to abandon her. Margaux always felt not good enough. Her legacy isn't just Vogue or Time. She's a symbol of those fighting silently. She tried speaking out, entering the Betty Ford Center, sharing about mental health, friends recalled. But the 1970s and 80s weren't ready to listen. Women, especially stars, had to be perfect. Margaux, with unseen wounds, lost that battle. Is the Hemingway curse 7 family suicides real? Or a way to explain a family marked by depression and societal pressure? Either way, Margaux's story reminds us don't overlook those suffering. A radiant smile can hide a broken heart. Remember Margaux not just for tragedy. Remember her fight against abuse, addiction, herself. She wanted love, recognition. But the world was too harsh. If you know someone smiling too brightly, ask how they're living. Margaux's greatest tragedy was no one asked the right question. Her Vogue image has faded, but her smile haunts, whispering from the past. Her lesson fame can't save a soul. Share this story so Margaux isn't forgotten, and we don't repeat the mistake.